Tracking the tropics as Imelda forms today with a shifting track to the east and to the west. What that means for us in the United States in today's video. Welcome in, folks. Great to see you on this wonderful, at least hopefully wonderful for you, Saturday, September 27th. And we're breaking down soon to become Imelda, now officially Tropical Depression 9, and likely to become a tropical storm by the end of today. And of course, the next name on the list, the I name being Imelda. And what a nightmare to forecast this one, folks. We've got just all sorts of competing steering currents that are going to really move Imelda all ways and going to try in a bit of a tug of war. And what we're going to have to figure out is who's going to win that tug of war. Will it be a trough over the eastern U.S. or will it be Hurricane Umberto a little bit further out to sea? And again, we'll be combing over all the data and trying to answer that here over the next 20 or 30 minutes or however long this ends up being. All right, if you're new to the channel, though, welcome. My name is Gerald. I'm a meteorologist at WCCV Charlotte. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell for the latest notifications so you're always up to date. I've been telling you the past couple days this forecast is a volatile one, and it will change. It already has changed some and will likely continue to change. So getting the latest information is very crucial to staying in the loop. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into things and get started. And you can see looping next to me, this is the brand new, hot off the press, latest GFS American computer model showing. You can see Imelda right there off the coast of South Carolina. I mean, we're talking about 50 or 100 miles here, folks. So, you know, very little wiggle room for error here between a landfalling hurricane and what could be a bit of a coastal scraper. And then after that, the forecast also becomes complicated a little bit later on, probably later this coming week. You'll see why a little bit later up here in the show, but a complicated one in the GFS showing that here pretty well on its afternoon model run. Now, there's no denying we've seen a little bit of a shift here in some of the guidance, and we'll be going over that here towards lesser impacts potentially, at least in today's model runs from this morning and at least from the early afternoon data we have. But I caution you, again, this could change once more, and in fact, the forecast could become even more complicated than we thought further on down the road. But right now, just taking a look at Umberto and Imelda on satellite imagery, you can see Umberto out there spinning away, a very impressive major Category 4 hurricane. Honestly, it could be a Category 5, would not surprise me, but the hurricane hunters are not out there investigating it as they're putting all their time and effort into Tropical Depression 9, soon to be Imelda over the Bahamas right now, and rightfully so, as that's the one that could impact land. But if Umberto is a Category 5, I'll tell you, it's been a weird hurricane season, and even as a Category 4, it's been a weird hurricane season. We've only had tropical storms or Category 4s and 5s so far this season, so we'll see if Imelda breaks that trend and becomes maybe a Category 1 or 2 storm. We could maybe break the trend from either nothing or everything here in the tropics, but Umberto definitely looking very impressive. And Imelda starting to get there, definitely now having that fully closed center right about here south of most of the Bahamas here and just north of Cuba. And we'll dive into the storm more on an isolated scale here in a moment and analyze it a little bit more in depth. But I do want to show you the latest tracks for these systems, and you can see the National Hurricane Center definitely getting their money's worth this week as they have 2 hurricanes to track. Umberto is still expected to remain in Category 4 for a while, then likely weakening once it gets to about the latitude of Bermuda and then hooking out to sea. Feeling confident in that. Imelda likely going to get the name this evening or overnight tonight, becoming a tropical storm in that time frame, then just meandering up through the Bahamas as a tropical storm, then expected to become a Category 1 hurricane just off the South Carolina coastline. And the NHC having the center of the cone about 100 miles or so offshore. But remember, the center could be anywhere in this cone. It could be right up on the shore near Charleston. It could be further offshore down here. Plenty of possibilities here, but intensity-wise, they're going for Category 1 right now, just offshore of the Carolinas. And that would be starting for your Monday and Tuesday, especially Tuesday and even going into Wednesday now as the forecast has slowed down a bit for future Imelda. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the storm's look a little bit more here. Let's analyze how it's getting its act together this afternoon and kind of look at some of the environmental conditions ahead. Here's the view I just showed you, kind of zooming things out. We're really going to just focus on Imelda here and its potential intensity here. Umberto, we're really confident in, and you'll see some of the same reasons why whenever we zoom into Imelda. But speaking of that, let's go ahead and do that. And I know I keep calling it Imelda. It's not technically there yet, but by the time some of you are watching this, I'm sure it'll have the name, and we're feeling very confident in that. You'll see why. Let's go ahead and loop the infrared here and give it a second to load. And you'll definitely see that we've got a much more cyclonic look to things today. The clouds are now kind of definitely showing more of that rotation. Also getting some hot towers to try to go up here near the center. At the time I'm recording this around 1:30 Eastern. And if we look at visible loop, and you can kind of see the same thing here. We've got much more of a spin today. If we zoom in even more on the storm system, you'll be able to see some of these stronger thunderstorms starting to go up near the center. And you could definitely, again, see that here. Some of these very tall, white, puffy clouds indicative that the center of circulation is beginning to strengthen. It's beginning to deepen as you get those thunderstorms to rise near it, creating that latent heat release that's expanding the atmosphere, lowering the pressure down at the surface, creating more convergence, and a bit of a positive feedback loop really is what happens with these hurricanes until something stops that, whether that be dry air or wind shear. But you'll notice as we kind of zoom out right now and take a look at the dry air nearby, there really isn't any. The closest dry air is all the way up almost near Bermuda, so that's not doing anything to really slow things down right now. In terms of wind shear, there is a little pocket of wind shear, but the storm kind of embedding itself in its own more favorable wind environment here and kind of moving some of this wind shear off to either side. And again, it'll break through that here soon enough once it gets to the northern Bahamas up this way. Unlikely to have really much of any wind shear left to slow this thing down. So no dry air, some wind shear, but the storm fighting it off quite healthily here. And because of that, we've got vorticity that's definitely increasing near the center. You can see those vorticity contours indicating that this is spinning. Another thing it's working with is just very warm ocean temperatures out here. We're talking about 30 degrees Celsius. That's upper 80s in Fahrenheit, folks. And you only need about upper 70s in Fahrenheit to support a hurricane. So we've got more than enough ocean fuel there. Not only is that water warm, that warm water goes deep as well. We're talking about 100 to 125 or so meters down below sea level. So the ocean boundary layer, the mixing layer here is very, very warm. And keeping the storm with higher echelon probabilities because of that, at least over the near term. Now, eventually, it'll run into some cooler temperatures, and you can see that here up even near the southeast coastline. If I zoom out again, a little bit closer to the Carolinas where this is headed, we've got the Gulf Stream here, so that's warm. However, right along the Carolina coast, we've got cooler waters, and then also a pocket of some cooler waters a little bit further east in there. So right now, it's at the warmest water it'll have during its life cycle. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that ends up playing out. In terms of satellite data, not a whole lot here to work with, but again, the hurricane hunters in here finding a well-defined center of circulation, so we're not worried about that. We'll see if we have any microwave imagery. Doesn't look like it. We'll see if we have any AMSU data. Also doesn't look like it. It looks like most of these satellites are working over towards Umberto right now. But either way, you get the point. The storm organizing, as expected, we're going to have that Imelda name by the end of tonight. I can almost guarantee you. And going to have some room to run here, and that favorable environment could last a while. Speaking of things that could last a while and favorability things, let's switch to the models and find out where this thing is going and take a look at that future environment around the storm to try to figure out the intensity a little bit more. As we start to come over this model data, you're going to notice, like I mentioned, the theme here has been for more of an offshore track. However, that is not set in stone, just like yesterday's more inland path on some of the models was not set in stone. So I'll show you why. Let me show you the latest GFS. This is the brand new model running the GFS, so hot off the press. And kind of the same general idea. Tropical storm through the Bahamas gets to around hurricane status right here. This is Monday evening. And notice, again, not very far off the coast of Florida, probably 75, 100 miles is where what would be the eye wall probably is just offshore there. And because of that, and we've got a bit of a trough up here in the upper levels, you're getting a pretty good injection of rain either way into coastal sections of South Carolina, southeastern North Carolina, I-77 and I-26 kind of eastbound here in the Carolinas. Seeing some rain here out of the system Monday and Tuesday, even though the center's still offshore. And then kind of gets up towards Charleston, really begins to stall out. And as we've been talking about, here's Umberto. Umberto comes in, kind of saves the day, and brings a stronger pull in that tug of war between what is low pressure here over the southeast, trying to pull Imelda in, and a much stronger low pressure in the form of a hurricane out towards Bermuda. Being Umberto pulling the storm out to sea. And then you can see we're all done with impacts, and it would really just be rain, some coastal flooding, and very light surge by looks like Wednesday afternoon or Thursday. The storm gets brought out to sea, and then you can also see meanders there for quite some time and just stays nearby. So probably won't be done with Imelda for a long time, but hopefully something like the GFS happens and it misses. What about the European model? What does it show? Well, pretty similar, honestly. It's about dead even with the GFS. including that heavy rain still getting inland. Here's Tuesday morning. Here's the storm just offshore, probably a weak hurricane, strong tropical storm, still bringing the floodgates of rain into the eastern section of South Carolina, southeastern North Carolina, places like Charleston, Myrtle Beach, the PD of South Carolina, still getting, again, heavy rain. We've got that injection of moisture northward either way, and who knows, could even potentially bring some isolated severe weather as well here early this week. Gets strong at the eye wall, almost clips the coastline, at least the outer edges of it, here by overnight Tuesday, and then like the GFS gets pulled out to sea, and then this is as far out as the model goes. Notice something here at the end of the European, and this is going to segue me into the next model. See how it kind of pauses here and then tries to take back close to land a little bit by the middle of next week? This is another potential curveball in the forecast that we need to keep a very close eye on, and you'll see why. Let's go ahead and switch over to the Euro AI model, and let's show you another possibility of what could happen here with Imelda as we continue to try to figure things out. Here's a Euro AI model, and I'll start by saying this. The AI models have actually kind of led the way with the forecast on Imelda. They have gotten this kind of stall and then turn back out to sea right well ahead of time from the other models, assuming that's what happens, as that's what most of the consensus is showing now, as I just showed you the European and GFS showing something like that. Our normal traditional models playing catch-up, the AI models leading the way. So are they showing the same thing? Well, yes, to an extent. Here's the Euro AI, again, almost picture perfect with the GFS and European, probably even a little bit further offshore. And then notice what happens. Same thing the European does here by about Wednesday, Thursday of this week. Gets this offshore. In fact, we've got beautiful fall weather funneling down into the Appalachia chain and into the mid-Atlantic at this point, and, a hurricane offshore. But then high pressure builds in, scoops this thing back up, and it's a landfall into the Outer Banks on the AI model from this morning by Saturday afternoon. Yeah, a week from now, Saturday afternoon. So we could be talking about Imelda for a long time, and I think this now becomes the next part of the forecast. Now, still, we've got to watch, does this make an initial landfall? Does it get close enough before it stalls near South Carolina that maybe eclipses Savannah or Charleston or Myrtle Beach, or does it stall further offshore, just bringing some heavy rain and some light coastal flooding and surge, and then go out to sea? And then whenever it does that go out to sea, does it then get brought back inland by another ridge, or does it stay with that out to sea kind of time frame? Idea. Either way, let's show you the intensity probabilities here, or at least my thinking with some model data. Here's the GFS. I don't think this is going to be the necessarily the prettiest storm you've ever seen, but a couple important things to take away here. Here's Monday on the GFS. Notice we got a lot of dry air over the central U.S. right now. That looks to funnel into the south side of Imelda, and that's going to probably cap off intensity around a category 1 or 2. I really don't think this has much of a shot at a major hurricane. Now, you never say never in the tropics. We know that, but I'd be shocked if this can get past category 2 status. I think really about category 1 seems to be a pretty safe bet given this dry air intrusion. But because of that and the steering flow, look at all of the moisture on the north side getting slung inland. So even without a landfall, we could be dealing with flooding into the Carolinas out of this as the upper level flow really kind of sucks the moisture out of the storm and inland here as that dry air tries wrapping around. And you can see that moisture field hangs around for a day or two. It looks like Monday, especially Tuesday, could hang on for Wednesday and then get out of here in the system, hopefully finally get choked up by dry air, assuming it does actually go all the way out to sea. What about upper level winds? Well, this is what's driving all of that moisture inland right here. You can see we've got a little upper level low pressure system over Tennessee and Kentucky by early this week. That's what's trying to pull the storm inland, but you can see at the same time, here's Umberto trying to pull it out to sea. That's that tug of war we've been telling you about. Either way, though, in the upper levels, which I'm showing you here, a ton of flow getting brought into the Carolinas right from the system. So we need to watch for flooding still because of this general idea and this general setup on the models, something that, spells a flooding concern continuing either way with this system. All right, that's intensity. What about the track a little bit more in depth? I showed you the Euro AI model and the GFS. Well, let's show you the upper level difference between the two and then go into the ensembles and try to decipher, which scenario might be more likely or, just kind of comb over the data a little bit more. Here's the American model's upper level map. And remember, this is the one that stalled near the coast and brought it out to sea, no problems. There's that low pressure over the southeast I told you about. And you can see right here is when things get exciting for those that don't want a hurricane to come ashore. You've got Umberto coming in, saving the day, kind of scoops up Imelda, sweeps her off her feet, if you will, and tries to bring her back out to sea. And that's exactly what happens on this model run from the GFS. And then notice what happens. We've got this little ridge up here into the northeast that starts to retreat back inland. A trough comes down out of Canada and even helps out more, kind of pull this out to sea a good bit, and then kills it off south of Bermuda. What about the AI model? What does it show? Well, it starts the same. It's got Umberto coming by, like I said, sweeping Imelda off of her feet, pulling her out to sea. Then notice what changes, though. This big ridge to the north builds back in, and because of that, Umberto gets brought out with that trough here at the edge of your screen here. But instead, Imelda misses the memo, gets caught back under the ridge, stalls out more, and in fact gets brought back inland even into the Outer Banks and into the kind of Chesapeake region there on the AI model. So some pretty big differences there between the two. And if we take a look at the ensembles and what they show, you can also kind of see this a good bit. This is the latest GFS, and let's see if, I know we should have the latest 12Z in, so let's try to loop this and see what it shows. It's only going out about 120 hours, but it's all right. We can use that and make do. Let's see what it shows. All right, so first of all, still shows some members that just bring it inland, is what the ensemble show, but most of them you could see right there by the end of it do eventually get this to start running back out to sea by the middle of next week. It's after that, though, that we need to watch. Here's the European. What does it show? And it's ensemble members. Again, we'll loop it so we can get the latest information here. Keep it going ahead into time, and you can see, yeah, still some members bring it right into the southeast, so that possibility not off the table, even though the operational runs have backed off from that. And then you've got a lot that try to bring it back out to sea. And then notice you've still got some stragglers here that are kind of stalled out, looping, and then some bring it back in there at the end. I'll show you another model that's really showing that from an ensemble standpoint. Here are some of our AI data. And again, this is the one that's kind of done well with the storm and has been leading the way. What does it show? Really, no members make that initial landfall, which it has shown all along has been very steadfast on. And now the other model is kind of correcting to that solution. Starts moving east, some stall, and notice then they all start to turn north. Some turn it north back into the Carolinas. Some turn it north back out to sea. And it just gets kind of tricky. So the point being here, still a lot to figure out with this storm system. I don't want you to let your guard down just because the latest models keep it from a direct landfall, because some of them still don't, from the ensembles and some of the AI models that then bring it back inland by the end of next week. And either way, like I mentioned, could still be seeing impacts even without a direct landfall. And speaking of that, let's go ahead and take a look at some of those rainfall maps, and I'll even show you a surge map and kind of prove my point here. Well, that American model run that never brought landfall still bringing heavy rain. Check it out, a pocket of 5 inches of rain all the way up near Charlotte, near the Uwaris, and towards Anson and Richmond County, North Carolina, and back down towards Cheraw, South Carolina. See, I know my Charlotte geography, right? But again, you're wondering, well, Gerald, what in the world? There's no landfall. Why? Like I showed you, that upper level map that is just funneling moisture out of this system right into the Carolinas. So we still need to very closely watch for a flooding threat, whether we get a landfall or not, especially for areas further inland that you might be letting your guard down now that you're thinking, all right, if it's not even making it to the coast, why is it my problem? Keep your eye on that. And then you can see this big heavy band of rain just offshore as well on the GFS. The European model, again, gets a little bit closer and brings flooding rains right along the coastline. We're still talking about 10 inches of rain for places like Georgetown, McClellanville, up towards Horry County and into Brunswick County, North Carolina, over towards Wilmington. That in itself would bring flooding. You still get 2 to 3 inches of rain further inland. And yeah, it's still bringing impacts is the point. You put all of it together. What about the ensemble or the Blenda models, I should say, which is an ensemble, showing the highest rainfall probabilities? And this is about what I agree with. Heaviest rain right now would probably be from Charleston to Wilmington, but even inland, you got to watch places like Columbia to Charlotte, over to Raleigh, down towards Fayetteville and into the Outer Banks. This kind of area in black. Do not sleep on this system just because the models mostly right now, at least, not all of them, but mostly have shifted to more of an offshore track. You cannot let your guard down. We've got an upper level pattern here that is very conducive to still bring flooding concerns with this system. Not to mention that we'll still likely get some surge as well out of this. Not a lot, but enough that it's worth mentioning. I'll zoom into some areas here of Georgia and other areas. Everything colored in here is expected to have surge. And the Blue colors here are about a foot or so. The yellow colors are about 3 feet or so of surge. So some of these barrier islands out here, Charleston, which floods anyway, on top of the rainfall that could occur, some of these barrier islands out here towards Folly Beach, Kiowa Island over towards Isle of Palms. Again, these swampy low-lying areas that we're used to in the Carolinas, going to see some surge either way. That could run all the way up here towards Georgetown. You could see towards Waterford Heights, and you can keep going up even towards Horry County and Myrtle Beach area. Less numbers here right on the Grand Strand, but the usual places that are a little more susceptible up towards Little River and kind of Sunset Beach, North Carolina, could again definitely see at least a little bit of surge of this out of this. I don't think it'll be the biggest impact. I think rainfall, freshwater flooding will be the biggest, but yeah, some saltwater surge could still be possible if you have a hurricane sitting offshore for maybe even a couple of days on end. So something we'll need to watch there, and I'm going to switch it to that view so you can maybe see a little bit better, but whatever, you get the point. All right, so that's Imelda. That's the forecast. A couple things to summarize here at the end. 1, we still do not know for sure where this thing is going. 2, still confident we could see some flooding. 3, with that said, the trends have been good today. It looks less impactful than yesterday, but again, I caution even saying that because we are still going to see impacts. And then number 4, what happens by the middle of next week? Is this a clean exit out to sea? Does it stall again and maybe get brought back inland, bringing more rain, maybe a severe weather threat, maybe even some gusty winds, depending on what the structure of the storm looks like at that point? All still things that we still need to keep investigating with this one. So got a long weekend ahead, maybe a long week ahead of tracking. I'm hopeful. Well, I say hopeful, not that it's guaranteed, but I'm going to hope for my own sanity and everyone else that this thing is a quick and easy exit out to sea, and we just get a couple days of a flooding concern and then we're done. But that is not a guaranteed thing to happen. All right, folks, that's all I got for you. I will be on WCCB Charlotte tonight at 6 as well as at 10, giving you the latest there. So you can download the WCCB Charlotte app to watch me there, and I'll give you the latest. All right, y'all have a great one. Stay safe. Stay up to date. Always follow me on social media as well for updates, and I'll see you all next time.